The forgotten heritage extended. The echo of the distress signal faded, leaving an uneasy silence in the grand council chambers of Earth's unified planetary council. For countless generations, humanity had existed in isolation, their ancestors having severed contact with the alien civilizations that once dotted the galactic landscape. Now, after half a millennium of peaceful development, that self-imposed exile was about to be shattered. Seated around the circular table, the council members exchanged grave glances, the weight of their decision palpable. It had been the unanimous consensus of their predecessors to conceal the true extent of humanity's technological and economic might, an insurance policy against the unknown perils that may have lurked beyond their borders. But now, with an apparent threat looming, that carefully guarded secret was about to be revealed to the galaxy. The colony on Xiron Prime has been decimated, announced Fleet Admiral Evelyn Kensington, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Our deep space sensors detected massive energy signatures consistent with heavy weapons fire, as well as the confirmed destruction of their primary communications array. The council members murmured in concern, the implications of such an attack not lost on them. Xiron Prime was a remote outpost, its only purpose to monitor the surrounding star systems for any signs of extraterrestrial activity. That it had been assaulted so brutally suggested a level of aggression and disregard for human life that could not be ignored. "Have we been able to establish contact with the colony?" inquired President Marisol Alvarez, her brow furrowed in worry. Admiral Kensington shook her head solemnly. "No, Madam President. All attempts to hail the outpost have been met with silence. We can only assume the worst." A heavy silence fell over the council chambers as the implications sank in. For centuries, humanity had enjoyed an uninterrupted period of peace and prosperity, free from the burdens of galactic politics and the threat of alien aggression. But now, that idyllic existence appeared to be under assault, and the council found itself confronted with a decision that would shape the fate of their species for generations to come. President Alvarez stood, her gaze sweeping across the assembled leaders. "Counselors, we find ourselves at a crossroads. For 500 years, we have hidden our light under a bushel, content to let the galaxy move on without us. But now, it seems that the galaxy has come knocking on our door, and we can no longer afford to remain in the shadows." She paused, her expression resolute. "The time has come for us to reclaim our rightful place among the stars. The time has come for us to show the galaxy the true power of humanity." The council members erupted in a chorus of murmurs, some voicing concerns while others expressed a cautious optimism. Admiral Kensington, ever the voice of reason, raised her hand to quiet the room. "Counselors, I understand your hesitation. For centuries, we have safeguarded our technological superiority, fearing the consequences of revealing ourselves to the galaxy. But the attack on Xiron Prime has changed the calculus. We can no longer afford to remain passive, not when our own people are at risk." She turned to face President Alvarez, her gaze unwavering. "Madam President, I believe it is time to dispatch our most advanced fleet to investigate this incident, and, if necessary, respond with overwhelming force. The galaxy must know that we are not to be trifled with." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council chamber, the tension palpable as the gravity of the decision weighed upon them. After a moment of contemplation, President Alvarez nodded, her resolve hardening. "So be it. Admiral Kensington, assemble your fleet. You are to depart immediately and determine the nature of this attack. If the assailants are found, you are authorized to use any and all means necessary to ensure the safety and security of our people." The Admiral saluted, her expression grim but determined. "It will be done, Madam President." As the council members dispersed, a hush fell over the chamber, the weight of their decision heavy in the air. For centuries, humanity had existed in relative isolation, content to let the galaxy move on without them. But now the sands of time had shifted, and the descendants of Earth were about to make their presence known to the cosmos once more. The human fleet, a formidable armada of sleek, angular warships, powered up their engines and lifted off from the orbital shipyards, their hulls gleaming in the light of Earth's twin suns. Guided by the steady hand of Admiral Kensington, they set a course for the remote colony of Chiron Prime, their mission to uncover the truth behind the attack and, if necessary, deliver a decisive response. As the fleet pierced the atmosphere and broke free of the planet's gravity, their departure was marked by a palpable sense of anticipation and trepidation. For the first time in generations, humanity was about to re-enter the galactic stage, and the consequences of their actions would echo through the cosmos for centuries to come. In the vastness of space, the human warships sailed onward, their powerful engines propelling them ever closer to their destination. On board the flagship, the Excalibur, Admiral Kensington stood at the helm, her gaze fixed upon the endless expanse of stars. She knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with peril, but she was determined to see it through, no matter the cost. "Helm, set a course for the Chiron system," she ordered, her voice crisp and authoritative. "Maximum speed. We must reach the colony as soon as possible." Aye, Admiral," the helmsman responded, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Engaging hyperdrive engines. Estimated time of arrival, 2 standard hours." Kensington nodded, her expression grim. "Excellent. Have all squadrons stand by for immediate combat deployment upon arrival. I want every system at the ready, and all weapons primed and fully charged." "Understood, ma'am," the officer replied, his fingers flying across the controls. "All squadrons reporting ready for combat operations." Satisfied, the Admiral turned and strode toward the central holographic display, her gaze sweeping across the tactical map. The Chiron system was a remote outpost, far from the major population centers and trade routes that dominated the known galaxy. It was a quiet, unassuming place, which made the reported attack all the more concerning. As the fleet surged through the void, Kensington couldn't help but wonder what they would find upon their arrival. Had the colony been completely destroyed, or was there still a glimmer of hope, a chance to rescue any survivors and uncover the identity of the attackers? Her thoughts were interrupted by the chime of an incoming transmission. Turning, she saw the face of her chief intelligence officer, Commander Aisha Malik, appear on the communications screen. "Admiral, we've completed our analysis of the distress signal and the sensor data from Chiron Prime," Malik reported, her expression grim. "The attack was carried out by an unknown alien force, but the details we've gathered are concerning." Kensington raised a hand, silencing the commander. "Tell me what you found, Aisha. We need to be prepared for whatever we might face." Malik nodded, her fingers flying across her console. "Based on the sensor data, the attacking vessels used a combination of energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. Their tactics suggest a high level of coordination and military discipline, far beyond what we would expect from a typical raiding party." She paused, her brow furrowing. "What's more, the power signatures of their weapons and propulsion systems don't match any known alien technology in our databases. It's as if they're using something completely foreign to us." Kensington's eyes narrowed, the implications of Malik's words not lost on her. "Are you saying these aliens possess technological capabilities that surpass our own?" "I'm afraid so, Admiral," Malik replied, her voice laced with trepidation. "The scale of destruction at Chiron Prime is unprecedented. If these aliens were able to overwhelm our colony so easily, then we may be facing a far more formidable adversary than we ever could have anticipated." The Admiral's jaw tightened, her mind racing as she processed this new information. For centuries, humanity had existed in a state of complacency, secure in the belief that their technological prowess was unmatched. But now, that assumption was being challenged, and the consequences could be devastating. "Helm, increase speed to maximum," Kensington ordered, her voice sharp. "I want us at Chiron Prime as soon as possible. We need to assess the situation and determine the appropriate response." Aye, Admiral," the helmsman acknowledged, his fingers dancing across the controls, increasing speed to maximum warp. Estimated time of arrival, 1 hour, 15 minutes. Kensington nodded, her gaze fixed upon the tactical display as the fleet surged forward, hurtling through the void toward an uncertain future. Whatever awaited them at Chiron Prime, one thing was clear. The galaxy was about to witness the full might of humanity, a power that had been hidden from the cosmos for far too long. First contact, renewed conflict, extended. The human fleet, a formidable armada of sleek, angular warships, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Chiron system, their powerful engines casting a brilliant glow against the inky void of space. Admiral Evelyn Kensington stood at the helm of the flagship Excalibur, her gaze sweeping across the tactical display with a mixture of trepidation and resolve. "Damage report," she ordered, her voice calm and steady. "Scanners are picking up extensive damage to the primary communications array and the colony's surface installations," her executive officer reported, his fingers flying across the console. "We're also detecting numerous power signatures consistent with heavy weapons fire, as well as the wreckage of several small craft." Kensington's jaw tightened, her worst fears confirmed. So the attack was indeed real. "Hail the colony. See if we can establish contact." The communications officer nodded, her hands moving with practiced precision. "Attempting to hail the colony now, Admiral." No response so far. Tension filled the bridge as the seconds ticked by, the eerie silence only punctuated by the soft hum of the ship's systems. Kensington's brow furrowed, her mind racing with the implications of the situation. "Scanners are also detecting the warp signatures of several unknown vessels, Admiral," the executive officer reported, his voice grave. "They appear to be retreating from the system." Kensington's eyes narrowed, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. "Can we intercept them?" "Affirmative, Mom," the helmsman replied, his fingers dancing across the controls. "Engaging pursuit course. Estimated time to intercept, 15 minutes. "Do it," Kensington commanded, her expression hardening. "We need to find out who is responsible for this attack and why they targeted our colony." The fleet surged forward, its powerful engines propelling the vessels through the void with incredible speed. As they closed in on the fleeing ships, Kensington could feel the tension on the bridge mounting, the anticipation of the impending confrontation palpable in the air. "We're closing in, Admiral," the helmsman reported, his voice tense. "Targets are now within weapons range." Kensington nodded, her hand gripping the edge of the holographic display. "All squadrons, prepare for engagement. Weapons free, but do not fire until I give the order." A chorus of confirmations echoed across the communication channels as the various ships in the fleet readied themselves for the coming battle. Kensington's gaze remained fixed on the tactical display, her mind racing as she analyzed the situation. The enemy vessels, though small in number, were clearly of a sophisticated design, with sleek, angular hulls and powerful energy signatures. Kensington knew that underestimating their capabilities would be a fatal mistake, and she was determined to ensure that her fleet was fully prepared for the confrontation. "Targets in visual range, Admiral," the sensor officer reported, his voice tense. "Initiating full spectrum scan." Kensington leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as the enemy vessels came into view. They were unlike anything she had ever seen, their hulls marked with strange, angular markings and glowing energy conduits. She could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on her, the fate of her people, and the future of humanity hanging in the balance. "Analysis complete," the sensor officer announced, his voice tinged with a hint of trepidation. "The vessels are of an unknown alien design, with power signatures and weapon systems that do not match any known technology in our databases." Kensington's expression darkened, the implications of this revelation weighing heavily upon her. "Hail them," she ordered, her voice firm. "Let's see if we can establish contact and determine their intentions." The communications officer nodded, her fingers flying across the console. "Hailing the enemy vessels now, Admiral." No response so far. Kensington's jaw tightened, her patience wearing thin. Patch me through. I'll try to make contact directly. Aye, ma'am, the officer replied, her hands moving with practiced precision. A moment later, Kensington's face appeared on the main view screen, her expression stern but her tone measured. This is Admiral Evelyn Kensington of the United Planetary Fleet of Earth. You have attacked one of our colonial outposts, an act that we cannot ignore. I demand that you stand down immediately and surrender your vessels. Failure to comply will result in the use of lethal force. The view screen remained silent for several long, tense seconds, the only sound the hum of the Excalibur systems. Then, to Kensington's surprise, an image flickered to life, revealing the visage of a strange insectoid alien. The creature's large, compound eyes regarded her with a mixture of curiosity and disdain, its mandibles clicking softly as it spoke in a harsh, guttural language that the universal translator struggled to parse. "Greetings, primitive creatures," the alien hissed, its words dripping with contempt. "You have interfered with matters that do not concern you. Your colony has been deemed a threat to our expansion, and it has been cleansed. Know that you are but the first of many worlds that will fall before the might of the Xendari hive." Kensington felt a chill run down her spine at the alien's words, the sheer arrogance and disregard for human life chilling her to the core. She straightened her posture, her expression hardening. "Your Xendari hive has made a grave mistake in attacking our people," she declared, her voice firm and unyielding. "We are not some primitive, insignificant species to be swept aside. We are the descendants of Earth, and we will not tolerate such blatant acts of aggression against our colonies." The alien's mandibles clicked again, its gaze unwavering. Bold words for a race that has hidden itself from the galaxy for so long. "You are nothing, and your pathetic colony was merely the first to be consumed by our endless hunger. Surrender now, and perhaps we will spare your lives." Kensington's eyes narrowed, her resolve hardening. "That is not an option. You have declared war on humanity, and we will respond with the full force of our might. Stand down, or be destroyed." The alien let out a guttural, chilling laugh, its mandibles snapping open and closed. "Then so be it, Earthlings. Your defiance will be crushed, just as all those who oppose the Xendari hive." With that, the transmission cut off, leaving the bridge of the Excalibur in a tense silence. Kensington turned to her executive officer, her expression grim. "Prepare the fleet for battle. We're going to show these Xendari what the might of humanity is truly capable of." The officer nodded, his fingers flying across the console. "All ships, stand by for combat operations. Weapons hot, shields at maximum. Awaiting your order, Admiral." Kensington took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping across the bridge crew. "This is it, people. We've been thrust into a conflict that will shape the future of our species. Remember your training, your discipline, and your unwavering commitment to protecting our people. I know you will all make me proud." The chorus of determined affirmations echoed through the communication channels as the fleet's various squadrons readied themselves for the impending battle. Kensington turned her attention back to the tactical display, her mind racing as she formulated her strategy. The Xendari vessels, though possessing advanced technology, were clearly outmatched in terms of raw firepower and maneuverability. Kensington knew that her fleet's superior weapon systems and faster-than-light capabilities would give them a distinct advantage, but she also recognized the need for caution. "All ships target the enemy's engines and weapons systems," she ordered, her voice crisp and authoritative. "I want them disabled, not destroyed. We need to capture at least one of their vessels intact for further study." Aye, Admiral." The fleet's captains responded in unison, their ships maneuvering into position. Kensington's gaze remained fixed on the tactical display as the two fleets converged, the air crackling with the energy of the impending clash. She knew that the fate of her people, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Failure was not an option. "Enemy vessels in range," the sensor officer reported, his voice tense. weapons locked and ready to fire on your command. Kensington took a deep breath, her hand gripping the edge of the holographic display. All ships, open fire. The void of space erupted in a blaze of light as the human fleet unleashed a barrage of energy beams and kinetic projectiles, each shot precision-guided and devastating in its impact. The incendiary vessels, caught off guard by the sheer power of the human assault, attempted to maneuver and return fire, but their efforts were futile. One by one, the alien ships were disabled, their hulls scared and their systems crippled. Kensington watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of grim satisfaction and trepidation, aware that this was only the beginning of a much larger conflict. As the last incendiary vessel succumbed to the relentless onslaught, Kensington turned to her communications officer, her expression resolute. "Hail the colony, see if we can establish contact, and prepare a full report for the Unified Planetary Council. They need to know the truth about the threat we now face." "Hail the colony, see if we can establish contact, and prepare a full report for the Unified Planetary Council. They need to know the truth about the threat we now face." The officer nodded, her fingers flying across the console. Aye, Admiral. Transmitting the report now, and opening a channel to the colony." Kensington took a moment to catch her breath, the adrenaline of the battle slowly ebbing from her system. She knew that the days ahead would be filled with uncertainty and peril, but she was determined to lead her fleet and her people through the challenges that lay ahead. As the communication channel crackled to life, Kensington steeled herself, ready to deliver the news of their victory, and the dire implications that came with it. Echoes of the past, whispers of the future, extended. News of the human fleet's decisive victory over the incendiary invaders spread rapidly through the galaxy, sparking a mixture of awe, fear, and curiosity among the various alien civilizations. The once-forgotten legends and ancient prophecies that had long been dismissed as mere myth were now being unearthed and scrutinized with newfound intensity. On the planet Cerelia, the leaders of the Galactic Council, a coalition of the galaxy's most influential powers, convened in an emergency session to discuss the implications of this unexpected turn of events. "This is unprecedented," declared Councillor Vrax, a towering reptilian-like creature whose scales glinted in the dim light of the council chambers. "For centuries, the humans have been little more than a distant, forgotten memory, and now they have emerged as a force to be reckoned with." Around the table, the various representatives shifted uncomfortably, their expressions a mix of concern and fascination. The Cerelia system, situated on the fringe of the known galaxy, had long been considered a backwater, far removed from the politics and conflicts that plagued the more populous regions. But now, with the appearance of this powerful new player, the delicate balance of power was under threat. "We must tread carefully," cautioned Councillor Nalrin, a diminutive, amphibious being whose large, bulging eyes betrayed his apprehension. "These humans have clearly possessed advanced technology for centuries, and yet they have chosen to remain isolated and out of sight. What could have motivated them to reveal themselves now?" Vrax's reptilian gaze narrowed, his taloned fingers drumming against the polished surface of the table. "That is precisely the question we must answer. Their sudden emergence, coupled with their decisive victory over the Xendari, suggests that they may have a larger agenda at play." The other councillors exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the situation palpable in the air. The Xendari, a ruthless and expansionist species, had long been a thorn in the side of the Galactic Council, their relentless campaigns of conquest threatening the delicate balance of power that had held the galaxy together for generations. If these humans are indeed capable of defeating the Xendari so effortlessly, Nalrin mused, his webbed fingers fidgeting nervously, then they may hold the key to our salvation. Perhaps we should consider reaching out to them, establishing diplomatic ties and seeking their aid in our ongoing struggle against the Hive. Vrax's expression hardened, his scales rippling with tension. And what if their intentions are not as benevolent as we hope? What if they seek to dominate the galaxy, using their superior technology to subjugate us all? The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, the counselors debating the merits and risks of reaching out to this mysterious new power. The air crackled with tension, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Amid the chaos, a soft, melodic voice rose above the din, commanding the attention of the room. Counselors, I believe we are overlooking a critical piece of the puzzle. All eyes turned towards the source of the voice. A diminutive, humanoid figure cloaked in flowing robes of vibrant hues. This was Kel'Rana, the eldest and most revered member of the Galactic Council, her vast knowledge of galactic history and her keen intuition commanding the respect of even the most skeptical of her peers. For centuries, the humans have been absent from the affairs of the galaxy, Kel'Rana continued, her gaze sweeping across the assembled counselors. Their sudden reemergence, coupled with their display of technological superiority, suggests that they may have been preparing for something of great significance. Vrex's eyes narrowed, his scales rasping as he shifted in his seat. What are you implying, Kel'Rana? The elder counselor held up a placating hand, her expression serene. I am not implying anything, Vrax. I am merely suggesting that we approach this situation with an open mind and a willingness to learn. The humans have clearly maintained their technological edge for centuries, and they have now chosen to reveal themselves. We must understand why. Nalrin leaned forward, his amphibious features etched with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. And how do you propose we do that, Kel'Rana? The humans have chosen to remain isolated for generations. What makes you think they will be receptive to our overtures now? Kel'Rana's lips curled into an enigmatic smile. Because, Nalrin, we have something that they need. And if we play our cards right, we may be able to forge an alliance that could reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. The chamber fell silent, the counselors exchanging uneasy glances as they grappled with the implications of Kel'Rana's words. The fate of their civilizations, of their very way of life, hung in the balance, and they knew that the decisions they made in the coming days would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. Vrex cleared his throat, his expression serious. Then we must act swiftly. Kel'Rana, what do you propose we do? The elder counselor's smile broadened, her eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief. Summon the humans to Xerilia. It is time we had it. Conversation with our long-lost neighbors. Back on the human flagship Excalibur, Admiral Evelyn Kensington pored over the sensor data and tactical reports, her brow furrowed in deep contemplation. The battle against the Xendari had been a resounding victory, but it had also revealed the true extent of the threat that now loomed over her people. The Xendari hive, she murmured, the name rolling off her tongue with a mixture of distaste and trepidation. A ruthless, expansionist empire that sees us as little more than a threat to be cleansed. She shook her head, her gaze sweeping across the holographic display that dominated the bridge's central command console. The Xendari vessels, now disabled and adrift, had been brought aboard the Excalibur for closer inspection, their alien technology a source of both fascination and unease. Admiral, the analysis of the enemy vessels is complete. Her chief science officer, Commander Malik, reported, her expression grim. Their level of technological sophistication is unsettling, to say the least. Kensington turned to face the young woman, her eyes narrowing. Unsettling how, exactly? Malik hesitated for a moment, her fingers tapping nervously against her datavad. The power output of their energy weapons and propulsion systems is far beyond anything we've ever encountered. It's as if they've harnessed principles of physics that we've only begun to scratch the surface of. The Admiral's jaw tightened, her mind racing with the implications. And their shielding, their defensive capabilities, also vastly superior to our own, Malik admitted, her voice tinged with a hint of frustration. Their shields can withstand multiple direct hits from our most powerful energy weapons, and their point defense systems are incredibly precise. It's clear that they've had centuries, if not millennia, to refine and perfect this technology. Kensington's gaze hardened, her expression darkening. This Sendari hive poses a grave threat to our people, Commander. If they are as expansionist and ruthless as you've described, then we must be prepared to face them head-on. Malik nodded, her eyes reflecting the same determination that burned within the Admiral. Agreed. I've already begun developing countermeasures and strategies to neutralize their technological advantages. But, she hesitated, her brow furrowing. But what, Aisha? Kensington prompted, her voice laced with a hint of concern. But I'm not sure it will be enough, Malik admitted, her gaze dropping to the floor. The Xendari technology is simply beyond anything we've ever encountered. If they've been advancing at this rate for centuries, then we may be facing an enemy that is truly formidable. Kensington reached out, placing a reassuring hand on the commander's shoulder. Then we'll have to do what we've always done, Aisha. We'll adapt, we'll innovate, and we'll overcome. Humanity has faced seemingly insurmountable challenges before, and we've always emerged stronger for it. Malik nodded, her expression resolving with newfound determination. You're right, Admiral. We won't go down without a fight. I'll redouble my efforts, and I'll make sure our fleet is as prepared as it can be. Good, Kensington replied, her voice firm. In the meantime, I need you to compile a full report on the Xendari and their capabilities. We need to understand our enemy if we're going to defeat them. Understood, ma'am, Malik responded, her fingers already flying across her datapad. I'll have the report ready for you as soon as possible. Kensington watched as the commander hurried away, her mind already racing with the implications of what they had discovered. The galaxy, it seemed, was a far more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. And the fate of humanity now rested squarely upon their shoulders. As the Excalibur continued its journey back to Earth, Kensington turned her gaze towards the distant stars, her expression resolute. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was determined to lead her people to victory, no matter the cost. Hold on, Earth, she murmured, her voice barely audible above the hum of the ship's engines. We're coming home, forging alliances, defying expectations, extended. As the human fleet returned to Earth, the news of their decisive victory over the Xendari invaders spread like wildfire through the unified planetary council and beyond. The leaders of Earth's interstellar empire, once content to remain in the shadows, now found themselves thrust into the galactic spotlight. Their long-guarded secrets now lay bare for all to see. In the Grand Council chambers, President Marisol Alvarez and her advisors convened to discuss the implications of this momentous shift in the cosmic power dynamics. The galaxy is in a state of upheaval, Alvarez began, her expression grave. The Xendari were a known threat, but their defeat at the hands of our fleet has sent shockwaves through the established order. Admiral Evelyn Kensington, fresh from her command of the victorious battle group, stood before the council, her posture ramrod straight. Indeed, Madam President, our intelligence reports indicate that the Xendari were a dominant force in the galaxy, subjugating and conquering countless worlds under the banner of their hive. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled leaders. And now, with their defeat, a power vacuum has emerged, one that other factions are already jockeying to fill. Alvarez nodded, her brow furrowed in deep contemplation. Which brings us to the heart of the matter. The galaxy has taken notice of our return, and they are eager to know our intentions. We can no longer afford to remain isolated, not when the fate of countless civilizations hangs in the balance. The council members murmured in agreement, the weight of their decision palpable in the air. For generations, humanity had safeguarded its technological superiority, content to let the galaxy move on without them. But now, with the Xendari threat neutralized, their self-imposed exile had come to an end. Madam President, Kensington spoke up, her voice firm. I believe we have a unique opportunity to shape the future of the galaxy. The Xendari were a scourge, their brutality and relentless expansion sowing fear and unrest throughout the cosmos. Their defeat has left a power vacuum, one that we can fill by forging strategic alliances with other star systems. Alvarez's eyes narrowed, her expression thoughtful. You propose we take a more active role in galactic affairs, then? Kensington nodded, her gaze unwavering. Yes, Madam President. We have the technological prowess, the economic resources, and the military might to project our influence and reshape the galaxy in a way that benefits not only humanity, but our potential allies as well. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, the implications of such a bold move weighing heavily upon them. For centuries, their focus had been inward, dedicated to the prosperity and security of their own people. But now, with the threat of the Tsenderi looming, they could no longer afford the luxury of isolation. Admiral Kensington makes a compelling argument. Councillor Liam Donovan interjected, his brow furrowed in thought. If we are to confront the Tsenderi hive and prevent them from regaining their foothold, we will need allies, powerful ones that can stand alongside us in this fight. Alvarez nodded, her expression resolute. Then it is decided. We will dispatch diplomatic envoys to the major powers in the galaxy, seeking to establish contact and forge strategic alliances. The fate of countless civilizations may depend on our ability to unite them against this common threat. As the council members set to work, outlining the parameters of their diplomatic mission, Kensington stood quietly, her mind racing with the implications of their decision. She knew that the path ahead would be fraught with peril, but the stakes were simply too high to ignore. Across the galaxy, the various alien civilizations that made up the Galactic Council received the news of the human fleet's arrival with a mixture of awe, trepidation, and cautious optimism. For centuries, the humans had been little more than a distant memory, their once powerful presence all but forgotten. Now, with the defeat of the Tsenderi at their hands, the galaxy found itself facing a new and powerful player, one whose true intentions remained a mystery. On the planet Cerilia, the council chambers were abuzz with heated debate as the representatives of the various star systems grappled with this unprecedented turn of events. We cannot ignore the threat these humans pose, Vrax, the reptilian counselor, growled, his scales rasping as he leaned forward. They have shown themselves to be a force capable of challenging even the mighty Tsenderi hive. What's to stop them from turning their sights on us next? Nalrin, the amphibious counselor, held up a webbed hand, his large eyes blinking rapidly. But we must also consider the potential benefits of establishing diplomatic ties with this new power. If they truly possess the technological superiority that the reports suggest, then they could be the key to our salvation against the Tsenderi. Kellerana, the revered elder of the council, raised a placating hand, her expression serene. Counselors, I believe we are overlooking the most important factor in all of this. The humans have chosen to reveal themselves after centuries of isolation. That suggests they have a purpose, a goal that they wish to pursue. Vrax's scales rippled with skepticism. And what purpose would that be, Kellerana? Domination. Conquest. The elder counselor's lips curled into an enigmatic smile. Perhaps, or perhaps they seek to forge alliances, to reshape the very fabric of the galaxy in a way that benefits us all. Silence fell over the chamber as the counselors contemplated Kellerana's words. The prospect of an alliance with this mysterious new power was both tantalizing and terrifying. A double-edged sword that could either secure their future or plunge the galaxy into unimaginable chaos. Then we must extend an invitation to these humans, Nalrin declared, his voice resolute. We must understand their intentions, their motivations, and determine if they can be trusted as allies in our ongoing struggle against the Tsenderi. Vrax's reptilian gaze narrowed, his taloned fingers drumming against the table. And if they prove to be a threat? Kellerana's expression hardened, her eyes glinting with a hint of steel. Then we must be prepared to meet that threat head-on. But we must first exhaust every avenue of diplomacy for the sake of the galaxy. The counselors exchanged a series of uneasy glances, the weight of their decision palpable in the air. Finally, Vrax nodded, a reluctant acceptance flickering across his features. So be it. Summon the humans to Xaurelia. Let us see if they are worthy of the trust we are about to place in them. Back on Earth, the human diplomatic envoys made their final preparations, their shuttles poised to depart for the Xaurelia system. President Alvarez stood before them, her expression grave but resolute. "You represent the very future of our species," she declared, her gaze sweeping across the assembled diplomats. "The galaxy has taken notice of us, and we can no longer afford to remain in the shadows. What you do on Xaurelia will shape the course of history, not just for humanity, but for countless other civilizations as well." The diplomats nodded, their expressions a mix of trepidation and determination. They knew the stakes were high, that the decisions they made in the coming days could mean the difference between peace and war, prosperity and utter devastation. "We understand the gravity of our mission, Madam President," Councillor Donovan spoke up, his voice steady, "and we are prepared to do whatever it takes to ensure the safety and security of our people, as well as the well-being of the galaxy at large." Alvarez nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "I have no doubt of that, Liam. You have my full confidence, and the confidence of the entire Unified Planetary Council." She turned to Admiral Kensington, who stood at attention beside her. "Admiral, your fleet will provide escort and support for the diplomatic envoys. Ensure their safe passage to Xaurelia and back, and be prepared to intervene if necessary." Kensington saluted, her expression grim but resolute. "It will be done, Madam President. The Excalibur and her squadrons stand ready to defend our people, no matter the cost." Alvarez nodded, her gaze lingering on the assembled diplomats for a moment longer. "Then go, my friends, and may the stars guide you. The future of our species rests in your hands." As the diplomats boarded their shuttles, the air crackled with a palpable sense of anticipation and trepidation. The galaxy was about to bear witness to the return of humanity, and the consequences of this momentous occasion would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. Kensington watched as the shuttles lifted off, her expression a mix of pride and concern. She knew that the path ahead would be fraught with peril, but she was determined to see it through, no matter the cost. "Godspeed, my friends," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the roar of the shuttle engines. "May your diplomacy be as strong as our resolve." As the human fleet set a course for the Xaurelia system, the stage was set for a confrontation that would forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. A clash of civilizations that would test the mettle of both humanity and its newfound allies. The dawning of a new era extended. The human diplomatic envoys, escorted by the powerful fleet of Admiral Evelyn Kensington, arrived at the Xaurelia system to a tense but cautious welcome. As their shuttles descended towards the planet's surface, they could feel the weight of countless curious, and perhaps apprehensive, gazes upon them. Councillor Liam Donovan, the lead negotiator, took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. "Remember, everyone, we are here to forge an alliance, not to make demands or threats. These alien civilizations have lived in the shadow of the Xendari Hive for generations. We must approach them with empathy and respect if we hope to earn their trust." The other diplomats nodded, their expressions resolute. They knew the stakes were high, that the future of their species and countless others hung in the balance. As their shuttles touched down on the gleaming spires of the Xaurelia capital, they steeled themselves for the momentous negotiations that lay ahead. Greeting them at the landing platform was a delegation of Xaurelia's most prominent counselors, led by the revered elder Kellerana. The diminutive, robed figure stepped forward, her large, expressive eyes regarding the humans with a mixture of curiosity and cautious optimism. "Welcome, emissaries of Earth," she said, her voice rich and melodic. "We have been anticipating your arrival. Please, follow me. The Galactic Council awaits." Donovan and his team exchanged a quick glance, then fell into step behind Kellerana as she led them through the bustling streets of the capital city. The towering spires and gleaming structures were a stark contrast to the more organic, earthy architecture of Earth, a testament to the diversity of alien civilizations that had made Cerelia their home. As they approached the Grand Council chambers, Donovan couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. The fate of his people rested on the success of these negotiations, and he knew that a single misstep could have devastating consequences. The massive doors parted, and the human diplomats found themselves in a vast, circular chamber, its walls lined with the representatives of the galaxy's most powerful factions. Kel-Rana gestured towards the central dais, where a trio of counselors, including the imposing reptilian Vrax, stood waiting. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Kel-Rana announced, her voice carrying with an unnatural clarity throughout the chamber. I present to you the emissaries of the United Planetary Council of Earth. Donovan stepped forward, his gaze sweeping across the assembled counselors. Greetings, honorable members of the Galactic Council. I am Counselor Liam Donovan, and I come on behalf of the people of Earth, bearing a message of peace and a desire for cooperation. Vrax's reptilian gaze narrowed, his taloned fingers drumming against the polished surface of the dais. So, the humans have finally deigned to join us in the affairs of the galaxy. Tell us, Counselor Donovan, what is it that you hope to accomplish here? Donovan took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. We come to you, not as conquerors or oppressors, but as allies in the ongoing struggle against the Xendari Hive. Our recent victory over their forces has left a power vacuum in the galaxy, one that we believe can be filled by a coalition of enlightened civilizations, working together to maintain peace and prosperity. Nalaran, the amphibious counselor, leaned forward, his large eyes blinking rapidly. And why should we trust the humans, after centuries of isolation and silence? What assurances can you offer that your intentions are truly noble? Donovan met the counselor's gaze evenly, his expression resolute. We understand your skepticism, Counselor Nalaran, but we come to you now, not as strangers, but as fellow sentient beings, united in our desire to safeguard the future of the galaxy. The Xendari Hive poses a grave threat to us all, and we believe that by working together, we can not only defeat them, but also usher in a new era of cooperation and mutual prosperity. Vrax's scales rasped as he shifted his weight, his gaze never leaving Donovan's face. And what precisely do you propose? What can your people offer that would make us willing to trust you, after so many years of isolation? Donovan paused, choosing his words carefully. We offer the full might of our technological and economic resources, as well as our unwavering commitment to the principles of freedom, justice, and self-determination. We have the means to liberate the world subjugated by the Xendari, to rebuild what has been destroyed, and to usher in an era of unprecedented progress and prosperity. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of murmurs, the counselors exchanging uneasy glances. Kel-Rana raised a placating hand, her expression serene. Counselors, I understand your hesitation. The humans have indeed remained isolated for centuries, and their sudden emergence as a dominant power is understandably unsettling. But I believe we would be remiss to dismiss their offer of cooperation. Vrax's eyes narrowed, his scales rippling with tension. And why is that, Kel-Rana? What do you know that we do not? The elder counselor's lips curled into an enigmatic smile. I know that the humans possess the means to reshape the very fabric of the galaxy, if they so choose. And I believe that, if we approach this alliance with an open mind and a willingness to trust, we may find that our fates are more closely intertwined than we could have ever imagined. Donovan felt a surge of hope at Kel-Rana's words, but he knew that the battle was far from won. The other counselors, particularly Vrax, remained unconvinced, their expressions etched with a mixture of distrust and trepidation. Then let us put this to a vote, Vrax declared, his voice carrying a tone of finality. Who among us is willing to place our trust in the hands of these humans and forge an alliance that could determine the fate of the galaxy? The chamber fell silent, the counselors exchanging uneasy glances. Donovan held his breath, his heart pounding in his chest as he waited for the fate-defining decision. After what felt like an eternity, Nalarin raised a webbed hand, his expression resolute. I, for one, am willing to extend the hand of friendship to the humans. Their victory over the Xendari has demonstrated their power, and if they are truly sincere in their desire for peace and cooperation, then I believe we would be foolish to turn them away. One by one, the other councillors followed suit, their votes tipping the scales in favor of the alliance. Vrax, his expression sour, reluctantly raised his hand, a gesture that was met with a relieved nod from Kellerana. Then it is decided, the elder councillor proclaimed, her voice ringing with a sense of triumph. The Galactic Council shall forge an alliance with the United Planetary Council of Earth to combat the Xendari hive and usher in a new era of peace and prosperity for all. Donovan felt a surge of elation, but he knew that the true work was only just beginning. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges and setbacks, but he was determined to see it through, no matter the cost. Back on Earth, the news of the successful diplomatic mission spread like wildfire, igniting a sense of pride and optimism among the populace. For the first time in centuries, humanity had stepped out from the shadows and taken its rightful place among the stars, a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of their species. President Marisol Alvarez, her expression beaming with pride, addressed the Unified Planetary Council with a renewed sense of purpose. My fellow citizens, today marks a momentous occasion in the history of our species. After centuries of isolation, we have forged an alliance with the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, united in our common cause to defeat the Xendari hive and usher in a new era of peace and prosperity. The council chamber erupted in thunderous applause, the assembled leaders and representatives celebrating the historic achievement. But our work is far from done. Alvarez continued, her voice carrying a note of solemnity. The Xendari hive remains a formidable threat, and we must be prepared to face them with the full might of our combined forces. The road ahead will be arduous, but I have no doubt that with the strength and determination of our people, we will prevail. Admiral Evelyn Kensington, who had led the decisive battle against the Xendari invaders, stepped forward, her expression resolute. Madam President, I can assure you that our fleet is ready to mobilize at a moment's notice. We have learned valuable lessons from our engagement with the Xendari, and we are already developing new strategies and technologies to counter their formidable capabilities. Alvarez nodded, her gaze sweeping across the assembled council. Then let us waste no time. We must begin the process of integrating our forces with those of our new allies, pooling our resources and expertise to forge an unbreakable alliance against the common foe. The council members erupted in a chorus of affirmations, their determination palpable in the air. For the first time in centuries, humanity had firmly planted its flag among the stars, and they were determined to shape the destiny of the galaxy in their own image. Across the galaxy, the news of the Human Galactic Council Alliance spread like wildfire, igniting a mix of hope and trepidation among the various civilizations. The once dominant Xendari hive, sensing the imminent threat, began to mobilize its forces, its massive fleet of warships poised to strike at the newly formed coalition. But the humans and their allies were ready. Pooling their resources and expertise, they began to develop new cutting-edge technologies and strategies to counter the Xendari's formidable capabilities. Sleek, angular warships equipped with devastating energy weapons and advanced shielding systems rolled off the production lines, while teams of scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to devise new forms of interstellar propulsion and defensive systems. As the Xendari forces massed on the edge of the Galactic Council's territory, the human-led coalition stood firm, their resolve unwavering. This was a fight for the very future of the galaxy, and they were determined to emerge victorious, no matter the cost. The stage was set for a titanic clash, a confrontation that would determine the fate of countless civilizations and forever alter the balance of power in the cosmos. The Xendari hive, once a fearsome and unchallenged force, now faced a formidable opponent, one armed with the combined might of humanity and the Galactic Council, united in their quest for peace, freedom, and a prosperous future for all. The battle lines had been drawn, and the galaxy held its breath, waiting to witness the outcome of this epic struggle, a clash that would echo through the ages, shaping the very destiny of the stars.